I'm not even gonna waste no time with this one, man. These dudes is crazy. They are crazy. The Aboriginal Americans, the Black Indians, they're crazy. Why do I say they're crazy? For one, they don't read. They constantly use sources that debunks everything they're saying. It makes no sense. So there's this one dude named Tashonna. This is Instagram right here. And he put this post up. Damn, I wish I could zoom in more. But he put this post up about how DNA tests determine ethnicity. And basically it's saying that you can't determine ethnicity from a DNA test, which is true. But he doesn't understand that ethnicity is a social construct and doesn't technically go back to a geographical land base. But it can, because people who share the same ethnicity also live in the same places. Like Igbo would be an ethnicity. They live in the same place, but not all Igbos live in Nigeria. They could be in other places like Ghana and just the surrounding areas of Nigeria. But anyway, he used this article. So I actually found the article. Because you know what they say, a pseudo dies at its source. And Tashonna, you're gonna die a couple times tonight. At least 3 times. And I will send you this video. But yeah, so if you can see his post, this is the article he uses. Who do you think it's from? Who do you think you are magazine? First of all, it's not even a scientific website, but you want to talk about DNA. It makes no sense, but this is his main thing. Ethnicity cannot be detected by DNA, but there is sometimes an overlap with the person's genetic ancestry. So he's stuck on this one sentence, cannot be detected by DNA. So let's see what they're talking about. So they say ethnicity was historically used as a synonym for race. Now we know race is a social construct, has nothing to do with DNA. Race isn't real, it's something man-made. But the meanings have diverged over time. Ethnicity differs from race in that individuals can choose how they wish to self-identify. So somebody can basically pick their ethnicity, like Aboriginals. They can adapt their culture and they can just divulge in that culture and decide whether or not to express the cultural practices associated with their ethnicity. So those are choices, but those are social choices. Those are not genetic choices. You don't have those genetic choices. So let's read on, because it says, in contrast, artificial categories of race are imposed upon individuals are often based on perceived physical characteristics. So they're saying what they see on the outward, that look of shit. You know, the thing that most people in this fake conscious community participate in, look at shit. So racial categories such as black and white can represent a multitude. Let me see if this might be better. A multitude of ethnicities. So it says biographical ancestry is the scientific term used to describe assignments of genetic ancestry to specific continents, countries, or regions. However, this phrase does not roll off the tongue, so companies have tried to use simpler names such as ethnicity. So technically, when it say you can't tell a person's ethnicity by a DNA test, it's true, but you could tell their biographical ancestry. Like, look, they even throw this down. Remember that whatever your DNA results tell you about your biographical ancestry, it makes no difference to how you self-identify and define your own ethnicity. So ABOs, you could take a DNA test. It could tell you 70 to 90% West African. But guess what? You can still claim your ABO because just like LBT, how would you say GQ or whatever, they have the right to identify you also. You could be transracial. That's fine. It's an actual term. People do it all the time. They want to change what they are. Uh, what else did I want to point out? Because he did not read this. Let me see. Yeah, there's a part where it actually says, oh yeah, how accurate are DNA tests? In general, the DNA ethnicity percentages are most accurate at the continental level. So he didn't read this. And if he did, he wouldn't have used this. He shouldn't have posted this because this article is saying that at least on a continental level, they're very accurate. Now, when it comes down to ethnicities, it becomes shaky because, like I said, you could be Igbo, and Igbos are mostly represented in Nigeria. But guess what? Igbos can live in other places because those are social borders that are built by, not even built, but they're imaginary lines placed there by man. So that's why you could be an Igbo and be somewhere else. But guess what? You're still going to be in that region just because you don't fit in those state lines or those country lines. Nature didn't matter. It didn't matter. Those lines wasn't there 2,000 years ago. So yeah, his he failed at that one. That source definitely debunked him, proved him wrong. It was like he just says anything, and I try to tell him, you're starting with a false premise, and you should read the article, dummy. It debunks everything you say about DNA. Apples only read headlines. I forgot. Like I told him, just look at the article, man. I don't know what you call yourself doing. Let me see. I did have something else for you, man. I definitely got something for you. I'm doing, but I have to set up for you too. So, yeah, here go. I should have had this video ready, but here it goes.
All right, so this is my first source. This one source, and I drop this link in the chat. I do it in the back chat and in the regular chat. So this is from scpronet.com, so a South Carolina website, and it's talking about the forgotten story of American Indian slavery. So I'm gonna scroll down to the important part of this.
But people, how he wants to scroll past everything. But let's just listen to what he says. Listen how slow he is.
Let's get right here.
You put it in. My bad. You put it in the back chat. I don't see it.
I'm gonna do it right after this, bro. Give me a second.
All right,
So I'm gonna read this part right here. It says, although the scale of enslavement pales in comparison to the African slave trade, it is notable, for instance, that from
obviously we have reading comprehension. It says, although the scale of enslavement pales in comparison to what? The African slave trade. Pale means it's not the same scale. It's minute. It's not as important.
1670 to 1717, far more American Indians were exported from Charleston than Africans were brought in. Let me stop right.
Understand is they're given a specific time frame from 1670 to 1770. So his main thing is, how could this be happening? Well, let's listen to his question.
Yeah. So if they had enough American Indians from 1670 to 1717 to outdo the African slave trade between those years, let's use our common sense. Why would they keep going back and forth to Africa if they already got enough American Indian slaves? Now,
that's not even a good question, but we got the answer though, because if we go to a source, the source is going to tell us the answer. And here goes the source right here. The forgotten story of the American Indian slavery. But if we come down here, if he would have actually read, he would have seen right there on the first page, the first paragraph. It says, okay, the South Carolinas used some of these slaves to work their own plantations, but because of the ability of captives to escape over familiar territory among familiar peoples, their captors preferred to export most of them elsewhere. So the answer is they ran because they was in the area. Capital from selling Indian slaves was used to fund plantations and purchase Africans. So I don't get how these dudes constantly use sources and they like cherry pick. So if your source says one thing you agree with, how are you not agreeing with the rest of it? Why even use it? It really makes no sense. So yeah, this is the part he fails to read. Like, although the scale of enslavement pales has they put that word there for a reason. They're saying it doesn't compare, man. That's just it. It does not compare. It doesn't add up. But this is his source that he didn't read. It says some planters use them in their rice fields until they can afford the Africans. The Africans work better. The Indians ran; they was used to the territory, right? But these are the people that he claims that he is. So a lot of them claim that they're Chickasaw, they're Creek, but according to this source, these people are enslaving each other and helping the Europeans, right? So this goes back to that. This is the first paragraph on the. I mean, it's the last paragraph on the first page. I want to finish reading this because it tells you what these abos were doing, because these are the people they claim they are. So he's claiming that, you know, he was the people that were, the Indians was the ones enslaved, and he's representing them. So, like his source says, capital, this is not my source, this is his source. Capital from selling Indian slaves was used to fund plantations and purchase Africans. It was as if one could create capital out of thin air. The only effort lay in capturing the prey and transporting it to market. Native peoples engaged in slaving for a variety of reasons. In exchange for captives, they received European trade goods. Many also hoped to forge closer relationship with the British. To refuse to become slave raiders, they risked becoming categorized as potential victims. So this is y'all. What doesn't make any sense. But you know, whatever floats y'all boat, y'all want to go around enslaving people, whatever.
I'm gonna get to my next source. I'm not just gonna stick to that source. That was enslaving and also going to war. All right, so this is from Brown University. Native American slavery. I'm gonna go to the top so y'all can see the whole thing. Colonial enslavement of Native Americans included those who surrendered to. Brown University. Native American slavery is a piece of history of slavery that has been glossed over. Fisher said between 1492 and 1880, between 2 and 5.5 million Native Americans were enslaved in the Americas, in addition to the 12.5 million African slaves. Now, I ask again, if these people already had millions, if they already had millions of Native Americans to enslave, they already had millions. Why would they have to keep going back and forth to Africa to get slaves? Secondly, let's use our common sense even.
Your first source already explained that to you, because they was running away, and it was easier to maintain the African slave. Your first source told you that, but you don't read. You Googled that, and that's what probably popped up, and that's what it was.
When they talk about slavery in school, why they only tell us, oh, y'all black people was the only people that was enslaved in America?
So you heard if these are in school, he's from South Carolina. Let me see if I can run that back. Listen, because he doesn't.
When they talk about slavery in school, why they only tell us, oh, y'all black people was the only people that was enslaved in America?
How slow this is. This is his source. Let me show you where his source is from. Can I get this? Look, The Forgotten Story of American Slavery, Teacher's Guide, South Carolina Indians Today. This is Teacher's Guide. They do teach this in school. This is the Teacher's Guide from 2017. You literally got this from a Teacher's Guide. This guy's an idiot.
These are the Native Americans' lands. Why the fuck isn't Native American slavery taught in history?
I just showed you because
history. I've taught slavery, and whenever you get at 16, they do say that. And those so-called Virginia, they didn't come from Mississippi Peninsula, all that shit.
To get people,
you get that.
This is what I'm saying, Snagger. Too more.
That article they talk about millions of
disrespectful and he's so dumb
Americans being put enslaved on that eastern seaboard. Slow down.
What does it?
5.5 million. Time over the period that we added up to 380,000, they would end to the millions of indigenous.
It would be great if somebody
on 1880 African slave. On 1880, but this is what it says.
It would be great if somebody.
Peace, Truth. How you, Truth?
Man, you know it's all love, bro.
Yo, Tashonna, like I don't understand how y'all be reading this shit wrong. Let me read it right. Like this is what it says. They say Native American slavery is a piece of history of slavery that has been glossed over. Fisher said between 1492 and 1880, between 2 and 5.5 million Native Americans were enslaved in Americas. Then it goes on to say, in addition to 12.5 million African slaves. So why are you acting like there was not no African slaves in America?
So did 12.5? So did 12.5 million touch the
That's
United
his
States
source. It should make no damn sense. That's your source. Where's it at? This is it right here. This is your colonial enslavement. Right? What does it say? Between 1492 and 1880, between 2 and 5.5 million Native Americans were enslaved in America, in addition to 12.5 million African slaves. Why is he acting like this? Is the shit I don't get. Like, I don't know what they call that shit. Dodge the hijack. I call it the arrow shuffle.
No, exactly.
They're talking about the whole Americas.
Okay, but guess what? When they
talking about
hold on. Yeah, you got it. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Not a coincidence, but
that's the context of that paragraph.
All right, look, in that whole story when they talking about the Indian slaves.
No. Pardon, truth. My bad, bro.
No, you good.
I don't want to talk about the story. I want to talk about the try to divert. That's the whole thing. We go from America. If you let them go, you'll be on the Ivory Coast. All types of crazy shit. Source. I'm reading from this paper right here.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's the source. I'm going to deal with that source.
In the source, it says it's 12.5 million African slaves in America. That's what it says. This is what the source says.
All right, look, P-Game, bro. Right now, this source is pretty much the 12.5 million is the assumed number that touched down at all the Americans on the Africans, right? But when they're speaking about these Indian and slaves, right, majority of all the stories that they talking about is what happened on the Eastern Seaboard. They talking about the wars that happened between 1604 into 1632, where they were snatching up indigenous motherfucking people and making them servants, but also sending them to the West Indies, Europe, and Africa. But then after 1636, it spiked up again. But then in the second Padawan Wars in 1670, it hella spiked the fuck up. Not to mention all the tribes that surrendered willingly to try to avoid being shipped to the West Indies and Africa and Europe as well. But mostly the West Indies and Africa, because they knew that those two places was where some of the harshest treatment was being done to people that was rounded up and sent as fucking slaves, indentures, apprentices, whatever term you want to use. It was a labor force. So when we talking about the Africans, right? They say 12.5 million came to the Americas, right? I'm not even going to jargon with that right now. I want to deal with the United States. In their own literature, they let you know no more than 380,000 touched up on the shores of North America in the United States. But they not even giving you the number.
But what does it have to do with his man showing a source that debunks what he's saying? They're trying to prove the African slave trade didn't happen. That's the whole thing. Every source they use talks about it. It says it happened.
Of the amount of Indians that was sent into Europe and Africa, they only telling you 2.5 to 5.5 million in America. What about the numbers of the ones that were sent into the West Indies and Africa and motherfucking Europe? So that number would be way much larger than the number of indigenous slaves that was in the Americas. So we're looking at the numbers and seeing how they constantly changing the numbers of these Africans, because more evidence is coming out about these indigenous people that got the same damn story. You feel me? It's too much. It's too many fucking coincidences going on with this history. And that's why we got to indulge in this shit on a chronological order so we can go timeline by timeline. That way we don't miss shit. You feel me?
A whole bunch of abo fluff. But why is he not addressing the two sources that are shown mentioning African slaves coming to America? Yo, I feel you. Hold on, I feel you, bro. You've been doing this a long time. You know exactly what to do. All that shit is dope. But concerning Tashon's source that he put up, it actually corroborates the story that 12.5 million Africans came from Africa. Then it does debunk it.
But you ignored that first source I showed, though, right?
I didn't. The first source said African came too, and they told you why they wanted African. over the Indians. Stop playing, man. Get to it. You didn't drop it.
I did. It's in the back chat.
Oh yeah, he never dropped the link.
Show me real quick.
He never dropped the link in the back chat for that one. I had to go get that myself. But this guy, he's a nut, man. Oh my bad. Fucking. It's like these dudes. They literally freestyle their own history when they want to. It makes literally no sense. But the worst part is they don't even care to look at anything. They have so much confirmation bias. But just like with this guy, he didn't even want to look at the at any sources or even open up his article. Yeah, I'm getting a phone call. Hold on. Nah, my bad. I'm back. But it's like all they do is constantly. Damn, here's another call. These dudes are crazy, man. It's like, what more do I need to show? It's like they always talk about Africans coming here. Always. Let me see what else I can find. What I got in my archive. It's a shame because these dudes can care less. But my problem is they're always promoting this crazy shit. This non-African, just, Hmm. Damn, I'm gonna have to finish it tomorrow.